Today we have a very interesting personality, a well-known personality in the world who has inspired thousands of people and has taken upon himself the task of inspiring 1 million. None other than Sabirul, 23 years of age, a very young personality, and we take pleasure in having a chat with him on his career. Good morning to you, Sabirul.
Thank you. Good morning to you too.
You have been in Sri Lanka for a couple of days now. What do you think of the country?
No, I've had a wonderful 2 weeks here. It's been a phenomenal experience. Why? Because to have been knocking on the doors of Sri Lanka for 2.5 years to bring my campaign Inspire 1 Million here, and to finally be here, it's just been an absolutely amazing journey. And the number of cities visited, the number of people inspired, wonderful.
Thank you. And what inspired you to inspire 1 million?
The whole journey and experience, because I woke up one morning thinking that when I leave this world, what will I be remembered for? And for all the money I could make in this world, it's great making the money, but that won't go with me. You know, I always believe that the real ability or the signs that you're able to make a difference in this world are far greater than the amount of money you can make. So I wake up one morning thinking, what can I do to be able to make a difference in people's lives? And where my life completely changed is when I had a young Nigerian guy fly over to London to come shake my hand and say, "You've changed my life." All because of delivering an event in Nigeria. That completely opened my eyes as to what's possible. So I've traveled around 25 different countries, 60 international visits, and inspired over 885,000 young people around the world. And it's just a passion I have. I don't make money out of it. It's just a self-satisfaction to have gone up to and delivered events to be able to change a person's perception from negative to positive. Because nothing beats that. The feeling, their emotion you get inside, nothing is more rewarding for somebody to come up to you and say, "You've changed my life." Or
How did you change this young man's life?
Because the talks I deliver, talks very specifically on certain subjects that really hit the heart of people who are suffering or people who don't have the privileges or the opportunities in this world. I could have easily delivered this in countries such as the US, in Europe, and made money out of it. But I specifically target Latin America, Asia, and Africa, where they don't have these sort of opportunities, where you can able to motivate, empower, and give insight into the real world, that no matter how old you are, where you're from in society, everybody has the ability to be extraordinary. And whatever the circumstances are in your life, you are able to use that to your advantage, especially here in Sri Lanka, as it's a developing nation. You compare that to the Western society, to the UK. Here in Sri Lanka, it's a half-empty canvas. So it's waiting for people to be able to start painting the picture, compared to the UK where this canvas is almost fully painted. So it's about the perception of life, how you view things in modern day society. And it's about waking those people up to say that you are in fact in a far more privileged state than half of the people in this world. So appreciate who you are and what you have around you, and utilize what you have around you to be able to make any idea, any dream become a reality.
The youth of Sri Lanka, are they different from the youth of the West?
Very much so.
Have you seen that?
Very much so. Because here there's a lot more reserved. To be able to speak out, this is the very shy, fear factor, all these things. But I think culture has such an influence on that. Because when you're able to speak out to an elder person, they wouldn't do that. Whatever question they have, whatever they want to speak out, they wouldn't speak out. Why? Because the element of respect is taken completely the wrong way. Because I feel if you're able to speak out and say to yourself that this is who I am, this is what I want to achieve, and this is the sort of support I need, you gain respect instantly. But because the elder generation here in Sri Lanka or in South Asia or in Africa, because they were not exposed to the data and the knowledge that the young generation have, their sort of teachings, which is 30, 40 years outdated, is being taught to young generation in the 21st century.
Are you saying that the parents, is there a conflict between the parents and the youth?
The gap between the parents, grandparents to the child, the generation Y today is huge. Because the young generation want to be communicating, the young generation are on Facebook, the young generation are on social media. They have access to the internet, all sorts of data around the world. So the million opportunities they are born with, they are exposed to. But the teachings that are coming from our parents to the elder generation, to the young generation today, they weren't exposed to this sort of information 20, 30 years ago. So what their parents taught them, they are enforcing upon their own children. So that is now very backdated information, backdated knowledge. And I think that is where the whole issue is happening, that the young generation growing up aren't exposed to enough knowledge or experience because of what their parents are teaching them. Not to say it's wrong, because there are certain values you need to keep hold of. cultural values, religious values, etc. But when you have a passion in life and you want to expose yourself to be able to achieve that sort of passion, we are being restricted by the generation above us because they fear that whatever we do, they need to dictate, they need to say this is wrong, this is right. But at the end of the day, we need the freedom to make our own choices.
You find this, do you find this experience in Asia, in Africa and Latin America? All these countries do have the same problem?
Yes.
The parent,
yes, of course. It's actually a global thing, but because I've been to those countries the most, I've seen it there and then and with my own eyes. What is the issue? And my parents are from Bangladesh, and the first thing I asked them as a young person was freedom to make my own choices, because the one-dimensional pathway they take in life is that without a degree we are deemed unsuccessful in this world. And any parent here in Sri Lanka would say that my child needs a degree, my child needs to be educated, my child needs to do whatever I want him to do or her to do, to become a doctor or an engineer as the stereotype in career paths. Now, whenever you're looking on a broad scale in Africa, Latin America, and here in Asia, we are the lack of knowledge that the elder generation have in terms of the opportunities that are out there. We need to expose themselves to.
So you have a message for the parent as well as for the youth student.
Of course, because the young generation, I could say a lot of things, and they will grasp onto it easily.
I see.
But I think the more challenging factor is to be able to change the perception of the parents, to be able to support the child and say, whatever the child wants to do, you support them too. Because you're there as a safety net, not to dictate the child's life. End of the day, you want to see your child happy. That's a fact. Every parent.
So you are inspiring everybody.
Everybody. It's a universal thing.
You have no age barrier.
The whole Inspire 1 Million campaign, there is no age barrier, because the message is universal. It touches the lives of so many people. I've now visited 16 cities here in Sri Lanka in the past 2 weeks. That's more than some people here visiting their entire lifetime. All because of a purpose, to change their mindset. I could say all sorts of things, and people choose to accept it or not. But at the end of the day, my goal, my vision is to be able to change the perception of life, that you're able to do exceptional things no matter how old you are, where you are from in society, all through having that self-belief and taking that first step in life. And just opening certain doors for them, that these are the organizations that exist, these are the people who can support you, because without the knowledge of people or the connection with people, all these young generation coming through are not achieving a lot today.
What was your first step in life?
My first step, well, I grew up in a very poor community. People hear London and think, wow, glitz and glamour, London.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a very poor community, because majority, 98% of the people in my community were all migrated from Bangladesh.
Right.
So in London, you got a whole massive Bangladeshi community, of which 90% were unemployed. So my parents were in that unemployed category. So raising 6 children, very difficult upbringing in that sort of society where we're trying to only rely on government to provide for us. And that's hard to accept, especially when you're trying to look up to people around you and say, this is who I want to become. But my whole journey started when I got into business at the age of 14. I ran my first web design company.
At the age of 14?
Oh. Why? Because I always felt that I needed to prove a point in life. That even if society points its finger at me and tells me I'm not good enough or I can't do something. And I was diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 11. But all these negative factors and surroundings in my life had shaped who I am today, because it's about combating that and proving those people wrong, who judge you, who tell you you can't do certain things. And it takes a very strong person to be able to stand up on their own 2 feet and say, I am more than what society perceives me to be.
Did the society put pressure on you,
which
gave a challenge for this?
Of course. When you're diagnosed with a medical illness, you're born as an ethnic minority in a nation that's completely full of white people. You're from a Muslim background. Already society is putting pressure on you.
Oh, I see.
When you're born and raised in a community that doesn't have jobs, sees crime, violence, drugs, alcohol as a way forward. You wake up one morning trying to go to school and you see a gun on your forehead by three guys. Now that's putting pressure on you. All the struggle, all the challenges, all the difficulties I faced along the way, I actually value those moments. Because if it wasn't for those moments, I would not be sitting here with you talking and dealing with this interview.
So the pressure gave you the breakthrough,
of course,
right?
It's either you have a meltdown, give up, and think my life is over, or you try and prove every single person who judged you in life saying, I am more than what you perceive me to be.
And you have been successful in
course.
that. And what is the message based on that you are giving the youth of the world?
Because you open your eyes to see that every challenge shapes who you are. Now people don't realize that the element of self-belief, motivation, having a vision in life comes from a very young age. We need to expose ourselves to as many opportunities in career fields as possible. Now whatever we are thrown down by society to the education we go down, 9 or 10 subjects to the 1 university degree we take, now that's limiting from 1 million down to 1. Now it's trying to open our minds to say that this is what's available out there in this world. It's just about having that open mind to go out there and accomplish something which we never thought we could accomplish. Because at the end of the day, we don't know ourselves best. Nobody else knows us more than us, but even us, we don't know ourselves better. So it's about exposing ourselves to opportunity.
Now we have reached over 800,000 people, inspiring 800,000. We have a little more, maybe another 100,000, 150,000. Where do you hope to reach this target?
Well, Inspire 1 million is a very interesting concept, because when I came up with it, people told me crazy. You know, to go around the world, I didn't have that huge amounts of money to be able to go around the world and make a difference. People told me, yes, it's not possible. But at the end of the day, when you challenge the perception and the norm, you're able to do extraordinary things when you connect with the right people who support and buy into who you are. So I've now delivered over 700 events in 25 different nations, this being the 25th nation I've been to, and over 60 international visits. And those 700 events I've spoken at 885,000 people in audience size. Now for many people they won't even reach that amount of people in a lifetime. But all because you have a vision and a goal and a dream and a desire to want to make something happen. And from that, all sorts of opportunities came. But it's the messages and the responses I receive, whether that's through social media, email, letters, you know, to the odd wedding proposal you receive, all just fuels you up and motivates you to want to keep trying. Because at the end of the day, that's the legacy you want to leave behind. To be remembered for having made a difference in this world. Yeah, I made my money.
What was the biggest audience that you had?
Biggest audience? So I've had thousands, especially in Africa. If I was to put to an event like this here in Sri Lanka together in London, I'd have 50, 60 people show up. If I was to replicate that exact same model in Africa, you have 15, 20, 30,000 people show up. Huge audiences. In Botswana, when I delivered the Inspire 1 million, you know, here in Sri Lanka, I'll be doing 25 events in 17 days. In Botswana, I did 43 events in 12 days in 10 cities. So
that's a real schedule.
Yes, of course, but all to make a difference, a purpose, to achieve something. 200,000 people showed up in audience size. Now that's 10% of the population in Botswana showed up. Now that goes to show how much people buy into who you are and what you represent. And when you take resources to nations that truly need it and the hunger's there, I could have delivered it in all across Europe, the US, in countries that already have the money, and I could have made a lot of money out of it. But I chose to take it to nations where I value the people more, and people who are hungry, where they lack the resources. And when I know that if I step foot in those nations, I'll get endless amount of support. Did it cost me money? I've traveled 60 international visits around the world, 25 nations, hasn't cost me a penny. Why? Because when you discover something about yourself that the world truly needs and is craving and asking for, and that you're the 1 in 7 billion people, which makes you extraordinarily unique, you realize the world comes chasing after you at all cost.
That is the message that the youth should understand.
Of course, because when you discover that one element, you realize the fact that you're unique. Nobody else in the world is like you. You may have somebody who may look a bit like you, but at the end of the day, the qualities you have is only you yourself, nobody else. So the world wants you. The world wants to hear about you. But unless you stand up on your own 2 feet and say, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and this is my mission in life, the world wouldn't know you exist. Then you become just another statistic in this world. And sadly, we don't want to be remembered as being another statistic in this world.
One of the things that in the developing countries, what we see is a parent is not always computer literate. They are not up to date with the social media. And there is a barrier that is coming in between the father and the son about the social media. How do you see this?
Well, my parents aren't computer literate, so they don't know anything about computers. But at the end of the day, the parents are parents, the child is a child. All I ask the parents to do is give the child the freedom to make whatever they want to happen. The parent is there to support the child. What do I mean by support? Whenever the child needs advice, help, maybe a bit of loose change to be able to make an idea happen, the parent support. All because the child wants to make a positive impact in life. It is not, the parents do not have a right to tell the child, I want you to become a doctor. Why? Because you look great as a doctor. No. The child wants to be an engineer, psychologist, or whatever the child wants to be. The parent supports as much as possible in that front. You don't have to be computer literate to be able to do that. It's just about motivating the child to say, you can be whatever you want to be and I am there to support you. 110% I will be there to support you, no matter what you want to do, where you want to go. Not tell the child that this is who you need to be in life. Because I couldn't achieve my dream as a parent, I want you to achieve my dream for me. That's what Asian parents do mainly. Because they couldn't achieve their own dream, they enforce it up on their own child. And that is the wrong way to go. Because yes, you'll be happy that the child is achieving your dream, but the child will live a very miserable life. End of the day, you want to, however long, 70, 80 years you live for in this planet, you want to see and enjoy every moment of your life. There are almost 99% of the people in this world who don't even enjoy a daily life. And that's not living. You want to do something and enjoy living on a day-by-day basis. And
so the 21st century, the development, the sciences and the arts has not given that door or opened that door to the youth?
Well, it depends how you look at it. Because certain nations are behind in terms of intellect and knowledge and the access to data, etc., compared to the Western society, and Sri Lanka being one of them, 20-30 years behind. Now, with it being a developing nation, there's so much potential here that you can do, because you look at it, depends how you look at it. Every developed nation was once rural. So you have to look at it in that manner. So the fact that here is a rural nation, a developing nation, you've got so much opportunities here. But at the end of the day, it's not about having the access to all that data. It's about what you have around you and utilizing and being innovative with it. So the element of innovation is something which needs to be pushed in this country, that we need more people to be able to use what already exists, implement it here in Sri Lanka, and say this is the way forward.
And after inspiring 1 million, what is your next step?
Well, every country I've been to, there's always opportunities. 25 countries now I've been to for the Inspire 1 million, of which 14 of those nations, I've got my board game selling in those 14 nations. I've got my book translated in those specific languages for those countries. I've got teams who organize all my talks, who manage all my events, etc. in those nations outside of the Inspire 1 million. So it's a globalized business that I run. If you were to throw the question at me, so Sabirul, what is your business? I wouldn't be able to answer you. Why? Because I do various different things. Got a publishing firm now in Southern Africa, which partnered with a mainstream publisher in Southern Africa to give young writers the opportunity to publish their own books. Why? Because I wrote my own book at the age of 17 to give young people hope that age is just a number, and anybody can write a book, as long as, because everybody has a story inside, and I'll share that. Now I've got my own TV series in South Africa, 13-week business TV series. So I've got all sorts of opportunities coming. So whatever I do in 5-10 years time after I've inspired 1 million, I can guarantee you it will go on to hit 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. Why? Because the need for inspiration will never end. You can always inspire a younger generation or new people coming through all corners of the world. So I may hit 1 million in September, October this year, but at the end of the day, the demand for the inspiration and motivation never comes to an end. And there's always somebody's life you can touch, and for that I am forever grateful.
Thank you, Sabirul. Spending the time with us has been a pleasure meeting you. And among your schedule today, you have spent so much time with us, shared your ideas for the youth and the parents of this country and the world. And I wish you well.
Thank you very much for your support.
Knowledge Box, the value-based media network.